Hello and welcome to IABM TV. Today I'm joined by Steve Reynolds, CTO at Imagine Communication. Steve, welcome back to IABM TV.
Yeah, it's great. Thanks for having me back this year.
Let's start talking about some of the technology trends that we're seeing in the industry at the moment, and how does Imagine Communications fit into these trends?
Well, there's a couple of key trends that we're seeing here at IBC in 2017, and there are a lot of the things that we thought people would be talking about. There's been a lot of discussion, of course, around the ongoing migration towards IP. The SMPTE 2110 specs are materially complete at this point in time, and in fact, the first three parts of that specification have already been approved. The first three parts of that specification have been approved by SMPTE, which has given the vendor community a great basis for interoperability. So we've got a lot of demonstrations in the Imagine Communications booth showing that signal flow all the way from end to end. And I've also seen that same workflow being replicated by a lot of the other participants in 2110, and in particular by the group of AIMS members that are represented here at IBC. One of the other key trends that we're seeing is the move towards microservices and the virtualization of software. This is something that we saw the industry starting to move towards a couple of years ago, but it seems to have become real. We're now seeing a lot of the community participating in the development of software in that kind of a microservices architecture. And we're even starting to see some interoperability between participants at that software layer. So at the Imagine Communications booth, we've got software coming from companies like VizRT. We're doing interoperability testing and interoperability demos with EVS. And we are really starting to see kind of the emergence of what appears to be an interoperable model around software and virtualization. I think the third thing, and this maybe was a little bit of a surprise for us, every year Imagine brings our full suite of advanced advertising products to IBC. This year, that's really been front and center for us. We've had a number of customers come in to talk about how they're going to monetize a lot of the new services that are being brought with these advancements in the technology platforms. And we're hearing a lot of questions around how to do impression-based advertising, how to do omni-platform advertising, and really bring together an audience that people were concerned was fragmenting. As a lot of our customers have moved towards multi-platform delivery, they're delivering on linear, they're doing VOD, they're doing digital, they're doing over the top, and increasingly starting to talk about how they're going to do mobile delivery. The concern there is, that the audience fragments as people move towards different viewing platforms, different distribution platforms. But we feel like we've got some good solutions for bringing that audience back together and really selling advertising inventory across all of those platforms so that advertisers can reach the consumers that they want to reach on whatever platform that consumer is consuming on.
Okay, and you mentioned AIMS at the beginning there, Steve. Obviously Imagine Communications have been very heavily involved in AIMS and the move towards interoperability. And can you give us an update on sort of where AIMS is at the moment?
Well, AIMS has over 75 members at this point in time. That has continued to grow. In fact, it's been less than 2 years. We really formed that group just after IBC in 2015. There was, in 2015, as a lot of the key manufacturers in the video space were starting to talk about how to move to IP and how to move towards virtualization. One of the things that we were all concerned about was fragmentation. This idea that everybody was going to implement things in a slightly different way. That concern was what fostered the discussions that eventually turned into AIMS. We wanted to make sure that there was interoperability. We wanted to make sure that there was a broadly adopted set of standards. And we wanted to make sure that those workflows were being described in a way such that you could have a broadcast chain that was implemented by multiple vendors. Really trying to figure out how to do what SDI had done, but do it in an IP framework. So, the adoption of that set of standards, which eventually became SMPTE 2110, by a broad community of vendors has been, I think, unparalleled, as far as adoption that we've seen by the technology vendors in this industry. And I feel like AIMS was a big part of that because the AIMS Alliance was formed specifically to foster adoption, to promote that set of standards, and to help educate the members, educate the community, and educate the broad industry. There's no doubt that that's been successful. In fact, just earlier today, I was over at the AIMS Interoperability Zone, the IP Interoperability Zone, which is in part sponsored by AIMS. And you see, a constant flow of people through there, not only looking at the interoperability demos, but also listening to the presentations that have been given there and talking about some of the use cases, talking about some of the implementations that have actually been done on top of that set of technology standards. And there's a lot of interest, a lot of excitement, and I think people are starting to see now that what we've been talking about really can be achieved, and in fact I think will be achieved much more quickly than some people had originally expected.
I think what's very fascinating about the IP showcase as well, I went over there whilst they were doing the setup, and it's almost just as exciting watching the setup as when it's all there, just to see all of that equipment come into a room and be put together by so many different people and so many different companies as well. It's quite a sight to behold.
It really is, and I think it's a testament to the work that's been done around that standards development. There's been a lot of very diligent activity and a lot of collaboration, and that's exactly what the industry needed in order to make that transition to IP a reality.
Okay, and so what else is new for Imagine Communications then, Steve?
Well, we're showing new versions of a lot of the software that the industry has become familiar with. We're showing new versions of our Versio platform, which is a cloud-native implementation of the playout system that we've been talking about for a couple of years. Here at IBC, we announced Versio Platform. So Versio Platforms is a cloud-native microservices architecture that covers not only playout, but a lot of the things that have to go around playout in order to create an entire television station. Okay. So we've added Versio Automation, which is a cloud-native automation platform. We've added Versio Master Control to give people the ability to do master control scenarios in an IP and software-based environment. Updates to our Versio graphics package. Imagine has a very close collaboration with Adobe. We use the Adobe authoring tools now as the principal authoring tools for everything that we do with On-Air Look. And part of the reason we did that is we want to more broadly engage the creative community and let them use the tools that they're familiar with. Yep. Right? People, graphics designers, are using those Adobe tools every day to create the great content that you see on the internet. Why not take advantage of that same set of tools and bring it to the production broadcast environments? Yep. One of the other new things that we announced here at the IBC was the Selenium network processor. This is you can think of it as being a next generation gateway device, a next generation processing platform. So we have created a very powerful hardware-based platform that actually lets us run software blueprints, software personalities in that hardware platform. So by taking advantage of advanced FPGA technologies, we've now given our customers a programmable platform that they can use for up conversion, down conversion, cross conversion, synchronization across multiple PTP timing domains, as well as dealing with a lot of the complexities of HDR conversion. So being able to go from HDR back down to HD if that's necessary, up conversion into HDR, and going from SDR to HDR as well, to make sure that we're adherent to the set of specifications that's being developed around that.
Okay, well Steve, thanks very much for joining us.
Great, hey, thanks for having me.
You can find out more at imaginecommunications.com.